Sea to sea, from planet to planet, and star to shining star. Welcome, this is Dr. Sean David Morton, PhD, and welcome to the Strange Universe Radio Blast. All of this made possible by my wonderful, wonderful friend, JP, and by his lovely lady, Bex, and can't thank him enough for making this time available to me and posting it out there to everybody. Just going to kind of freeform today. Didn't have anything really that prepared, but we're obviously recovering from the effects of the what I call the blue-white fist hitting the planet in May, one of the most disastrous Mays on record. You had something like 400 tornadoes across the Midwest. You still have about a third of the country entirely underwater. You have power plants in Arkansas that are literally sliding into the river. This is going to massively affect the food and the ability for the United States to grow food in the next couple of months because of just all this massive, massive destruction. Just on a couple of personal notes, I want to thank everybody out there I managed to meet and exceed with the help of the people out there. I want to thank people like Carol and Mama Lil and Hillary Lowndes Andelman and all the wonderful people that contributed to my legal defense fund. So they're all taken care of. And right now we're my appeal was filed on May 20th. We're expecting an answer on the 20th of June. Then we've got to answer their nonsense, and then it's going to go to the Ninth Circuit Court, and they're going to decide what's going on. The bottom line is I don't see how they could not at least overturn the ruling and put a new trial together with the new information that's coming up. So we'll see what happens there. Also, they completely screwed up my eye. I'm still blind in my right eye, so I'm putting in a motion for compassionate release. So I'm putting all that together, but it doesn't look like my friends here at the BOP are going to give me any of my medical records, so they're playing that game. So here's my challenge. Melissa's actually out there. She's literally having to, the Mormons have given her no help whatsoever. She's like rooting through Goodwill bins now just to get clothes, and her credit's been almost completely destroyed by this entire thing. So she's couch surfing and just staying with friends back and forth. So if anybody wants to contribute $50 or $100, it's paypal.me /help Melissa. That's paypal.me /help Melissa. As I said, she's scrounging around. She's getting part-time jobs. I think she's working the electronics convention this weekend, but just doing anything she can to basically keep body and soul together. It's I didn't realize you got it kind of easy in prison. At least you get 3 meals a day and a place to sleep, and she doesn't even have that. So anyway, anybody that can help her with donations of $50 or contributions of $50 to $100 would be wonderful. Once again, it's paypal.me /help Melissa. Okay, so there's that. All right, we obviously had the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and very interesting that Trump was unloading on people like nervous Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, all these Democrats, by the way, who were bad-mouthing the president when he's out of the country, when he's when he's representing us to foreign nations, is just complete crap. They're saying that well, Trump is bashing us. Well, again, the president was out of the country, and they were saying all these negative things. But I just want to remind people that with the with the 75th anniversary of D-Day and Operation Overlord, that the cabal that we're against now, I mean, the Axis powers that we're looking at now is literally the deep state. And we're looking at CNN and MSNBC and ABC and NBC. And I can't tell you for how many years I've been doing the radio, almost 30 years now, I've told you, and it's kind of funny that Trump has picked this up, that Alex Jones has picked this up, that so many people have picked this up, that the media is your enemy. I pointed out to people that if the Japanese and the Germans had conquered the United States, and if they control the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week news service that did nothing but give you propaganda and lies of everything that was bad for you, if you basically just do the opposite of everything the media tells you to do, you'll be okay. But for Trump to have picked up the media as your enemy, which is something I've been saying for years. Another thing I used to say is that without borders, language, and culture, you don't have a nation. And that was picked up by Michael Savage, who began to tout that. Let me give you a reminder of this. Back in 1976, I won a $25,000 scholarship for college. It was the Jemco Scholarship Prize by actually doing socio-political debate all about the horrors of immigration back then. Back in 1976, I won a $25,000 scholarship to go to USC, based off, once again, arguing the dire woes of immigration. I'm picking up a lot of stuff psychically once again on July 4th. I don't know what it is about July 4th, but I get for some reason Trump. I get Trump at Mount Rushmore. I get like his face on Mount Rushmore. I get like some big announcement. There's like a brilliant light that begins to shine on the planet. That's very much like the Return of the King and the final scenes of the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy. It's also interesting too because I think some major revelations are going to be made about QAnon, and I believe I know who QAnon is. I think I cried when I found out who I think it was, but it's a person that you know and you'd never think of in 1,000 years, and once again, who appears to maybe come back from the dead. So, and there's some new postings by QAnon that talks about a lot of things. I think it's very interesting that Malaysia shut down its banks and its pawn shops and whatever else for 9 days, and this was directly after they called for the United States to basically back its currency with gold. You'll also see that the Federal Reserve is actually dropping interest rates. The stock market went up like 350 points today. You've got a lot of disinformation out there as well, too, saying that China is somehow winning the trade war with the United States, and that somehow China's not affected by what the United States is doing, which is just wrong. I mean, I love Ben Fulford and what he puts out there, but he gets like a weird fish in his craw about stuff that just doesn't make any sense to me, saying, oh, it's no big deal with what we're doing with China. And finally, I don't know if you people realize this, but in the month of May, we had 144,000 illegals come across the border in Mexico, and Trump is the only one that's doing anything about it. And finally, by him threatening the Mexicans with financial tariffs and with financial consequences, they finally called out the federales and the state police and their version of the National Guard and put them on the border of Guatemala, where they're all coming in. And they're saying, oh, there's food shortages in Guatemala, blah blah blah. Well, there used to be a civil war in Guatemala. That's over. I mean, I visited Guatemala in 2011, and it was perfectly fine. But once again, look towards the 4th of July. And let me give you another big date. This month, January 21st, we will be halfway through the night. It'll be Christmas for the world. I mean, the reason we celebrate Christmas is because it's the winter solstice. It's the longest night of the year. And then the sun starts coming back. Well, we're halfway through the Night of the Jaguar. We're halfway through in the Maya, Toltec, and Olmec tradition being swallowed by the Black Panther, if you will. So with this, I think you're going to see, the biggest thing I think you're going to see is finally retribution. That what was Operation Crossfire Hurricane, which was a seditious series of actions to disrupt the election of Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton and to basically unseat by a coup a sitting president of the United States, which is not treason, it's sedition, by the way. Now you're going to start seeing Operation Boomerang, and I think now they talk about 100,000 sealed indictments. Yes, they're there on Pacer. Yes, you can check them, but I don't see them being acted on. But you will see 15 pretty major indictments against heads of the FBI and the CIA. And I don't know why nobody says this, but every single crime here goes directly back to the office of the president and Barack Obama. And nobody wants to mention him because they're afraid it's going to be, it's racist to talk about Obama, and Obama didn't have any scandals at all during his entire presidency. Well, that's complete nonsense. And so it's going to be very interesting to see. And by the way, Donald Trump knows where all the bodies are buried. Donald Trump knows what happened on 9/11. Donald Trump knows what happened at Roswell. Donald Trump knows everything about aliens and super technology. So does Patrick Shanahan, who's the coming head of the Defense Department. He worked on anti-gravity research at Boeing. He worked on GRASP. He worked on cold fusion engines and all this. So I think the biggest thing you're going to see is 15 major indictments coming down that are going to finally the declassification of the Pfizer warrant. Finally, guys like Durham and Barr are going to get to the bottom of this sedition and this attempt to unseat a sitting U.S. president. Once again, you've got Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder and Barack Obama all behind it, which I was screaming about at the time. And please remember that I'm a political prisoner here. I'm a victim of the deep state. As a matter of fact, when they issued subpoenas for Lois Lerner and Eric Holder to release these 30,000 emails when the IRS was being weaponized to be used against anybody that was involved in the Tea Party, anybody that had affiliations with a Christian group or a Jewish group, anybody that had the word Israel or patriot or Christian in it. They weaponized. Barack Obama ordered the weaponization of the IRS to go after these people. And by the way, the IRS is now writing checks to those they harmed with no admission of guilt. But a week after the subpoenas expired, when Eric Holder should have been found in contempt of court for not producing 30,000 emails and all the destroyed files to show them that this led to Obama, a week after those subpoenas expired was when they indicted myself and my poor wife Melissa. And again, they just made stuff up to go after me. I mean, I've said this over and over and over again. I was not the architect of any tax fraud. I never spoke against the voluntary income tax system of the United States. And they put 3 other guys in prison using us as victims, and then they turned around and tried to claim that we were the perpetrators and the architects. So we paid guys to do our taxes, and the IRS code also very clearly states that you cannot prosecute people when their taxes are being done by a licensed tax preparer, which we did. I was denied an attorney for my sentencing hearing, where the judge said, "Nope, too late for you." So, my medical records couldn't be taken into account. There was no actual reading of the charges when they were saying, "Well, do you want an attorney or not?" So those are the things that were actually the crimes that were committed by Judge Wilson in this entire thing that are going to get this overturned with the Ninth Circuit Court, and at the least get me a new trial. And then they're not going to be able to use all the stuff that was actually hidden from the court by the DOJ at that time. Okay, that's just me. Once again, June 21st, I think, should be a big celebration day. Also remember that since the year 2000, every May 20th, the sun is now directly aligned with the Pleiades. So May 20th, which is when my appeal was filed, oddly enough, is a huge burst of wonderful ascension, powerful energy of all this stuff coming from the Pleiades. And the Pleiades is a constellation that's made up of about 250 very, very old blue-white stars. And whenever it aligns, and ever since the year 2000, the sun every May 20th aligns with that. Now, halfway out, June 21st is going to be a big deal, because I think that we're coming through to the light. I think all this evil and all these bad guys, and it's very interesting because under the first step in the Second Chance Act, which was Jared Kushner signed into law December 21st of 2018 by President Trump, they're now talking about releasing or freeing about 180,000 federal prisoners out of here, about guys who've served 66% of their sentence, guys that are over 60 years old. So literally, they're out of the belly of the jaguar. Literally, they're coming to freedom, and they're coming to the light. So you watch what happens on July 4th. I don't know why Independence Day is going to be such a big deal, but it has something to do with Trump and Mount Rushmore and the return of the king and a new energy coming and the bad guys finally going under, and we're finally seeing the biggest thing that the deep state has. Really, all that's left. They don't really have the banks. They don't really own anything other than the media, other than CNN and MSNBC and ABC and whatever else. I cannot believe that Bob, the head of Disney, came out and said he was all for abortion when Disney makes all its money off little kids. So there's a big, bright future coming. I hope there's a bright future for me. You can help Melissa. Once again, please, PayPal.me/help Melissa. This is not going to some immigrant. This is not going to some faceless person. This is going to someone who's been destroyed and who's been impoverished by the deep state, and you have a chance to help her now. $50 to $100 if you appreciate these blasts. And I can't thank JP enough. And once again, for Strange Universe, it's a strange universe, and we just work here. I want to thank JP again. I want to thank all of you for listening, and all of you for keeping me in your hearts and prayers. And I'll see you next week.
Good night, Sean.
Thanks, buddy.